Good morning, attendees, and thank you very much for joining today's webinar on fire management hosted by Agri SA in partnership with Santam. Fire risk are no new phenomenon amongst landowners. We experience fire risk all year round in different parts of the country. With the above normal rainfall in most parts of the country during the 2021 and 2022 summer season, we might face a great fire risk when winter approaches, especially in the interior parts of the country. Last year alone, more than 2 million hectares of agricultural pastures and veld were lost due to infernos, which led to great losses to agricultural land, infrastructure, pastures, and livestock. The purpose of today's webinar is mostly to inform and to empower landowners, fire protection associations, financial advisors, and those who have a direct interest in fire liability and management, to understand the risks that we are facing and to be prepared. My name is Andrea Campher. I'm the Risk and Disaster Manager at Agri SA, specifically looking after the needs of the agricultural sector when disaster strikes, funding to be made available, and to coordinate disaster relief responses across provinces and across industries. Before I introduce the speakers, just a few quick house rules. We all ask that all microphones be turned off. You are more than welcome to type any questions in the chat box. We will have a question and answer session after the presenters presented. The webinar is recorded and will be made available to the attendees after the event, as well as on the Agri SA social media pages. Any social media interacting today on the webinar, we ask that you may kindly use the hashtag AgriFire. That will also be placed in the chat box. Should we not answer all the questions raised in the chat box in today's webinar, we will circulate the answers after the event to all the attendees. I would like to start off by introducing our first speaker for today's webinar. Most of you are all familiar with him. He's well known within the insurance industry and extremely passionate, Emile Pretorius. He's a leader with no title and a humble human being, having a great sense of humor. He challenges himself daily to be a difference maker of note and to be the best that God created him to be. He completed his honours degree in industrial psychology at Northwest University. In 2004, he joined Santam as a regional trainer, whereafter he joined Santam Agri in 2013. He's passionate about agriculture and especially in the insurance of assets, with knowledge in the wording and cover of insurance policies. He describes himself as the biggest supporter of TCF, which is treat customers fairly, and is convinced that our country will be saved by agriculture. Emile will specifically be speaking today about the liability and the spreading of fires and the requirements and benefits of being part of a fire protection association. Emile, we look forward to your presentation. You have the floor.
Thank you so much. And just for the purposes of the signal, I'm going to switch off my camera and immediately share my presentation. It is really an honor in every way to be part of this wonderful opportunity to share our environment with all the attendees. So baie dankie vir die wonderlike voorreg om die Safari Pak Brigade ook op hierdie fantastiese platform te verteenwoordig. I am totally convinced that insurance is a godly principle as we all contribute in a fair way to a pool. And when disaster struck and we become the victim of loss or damage, insurance is a partner that you never ever want to go without, because it is an investment in your own sustainability. Absolutely an investment in your sustainability. Every year I start off with statistics, because the statistics also confirm why we need insurance in every way. If it's life insurance, if it is short-term, commercial, agri, marine insurance, whatever the case may be, the facts confirm why insurance is so important. And I'm making use of the statistics published by the Insurance Crime Bureau for the period the 1st of March 2020 up to the 31st of March 2021, that is the annual period. And yes, it is mind-blowing to look at the statistics, but no reason to be depressed, but just to take note why insurance is important. Over this time period, there were 180,591 burglaries and robberies reported in residential areas. That means 495 burglaries per day reported. 229 robberies and burglaries reported within our small medium enterprises. And 96 vehicles were stolen within this period every single day. And something that I pray that I will never fall victim of is becoming a victim of a hijacking. Every single day, 46 hijacks incidents or hijacking incidents were reported. 4 trucks were hijacked every single day. And let's bring it nearer to the agri space. 77 incidents of stock thefts were reported every single day. We all were challenged and faced by a phenomenon, COVID, in 2020. But some good from COVID is that all of a sudden we had and we needed to take note of the virtual space. And for our farmers, it was excellent as they also become a keen supporter of doing online shopping. My dearest delegates, esteemed guests, it is worrying that for 2021, there was an increase of 337% in terms of personal identity theft. An insurer will really be your partner when it comes to sustainability. And I refer to the statistics from 2017 up to 2019. Santam paid 40 billion rand in terms of claims as an investment. Our policy holders and even to our communities. 2020, with COVID, we rewrote the claims history within Santam as we paid for one single year 21.1 billion in terms of claims. Last year, 2021, we rewritten once again our claims being paid 24.5 million for a single year. And I think everyone will agree in humbleness that insurance is really your partner in terms of sustainability. And I know it will come to mind to say, hey, bagger, we want the best cover at the lowest premium. And this is always where I will share a smile to say, thank you so much for that comment, confirming that you are human. But I challenge you, in terms of your insurance partner, have a look at their commitment. Our commitment at Santam, and I say this with humbleness, is not only indemnification, but more. There's a wonderful confirmation with the picture on the left top, where together with Santam, we contributed 3 million towards the drought relief fund of Agri South Africa. We had the most wonderful experience to report to a CEO, Lizay Lambrechts, and just to think back 2017, the Knysna fires. Santam were the first insurer to pledge R1 million towards the disaster fund. The year thereafter, 2018, the floods in KZN and Eastern Cape, 1.3 million. And we know the current challenge in KZN this week after the floods. So we really go out of our way to ensure and attend to sustainability. I recall the Hertzog fires in the Free State, where we made an ample contribution. Even though that droughts is not the only challenge to our farmers, last year the locusts in the Northern Cape, we once again reiterated our commitment towards sustainability by attending to a sponsorship relief fund to our Northern Cape farmers. So with all due respect, I know lots of the human beings will make a comment to confirm that, hey, insurance is expensive. And wait, there's more. Wait until the first claim, and then you will see what insurance is all about. This is really a total wrong perception. And I can confirm with the following examples. That insurance is really important and not expensive at all. Let's take the fire section. If I want to insure a building with an insured amount of R1 million, prior any risk underwriting, my tariff will be 2,500 per annum, 208 Rand per month. So we are willing to accept the risk for the amount of R1 million, and you will be paying 2,500 per annum or 208 Rand per month. Fodder in the open, 1,009,000 per annum, 750 per month. And the first thing coming to mind, but why is it more expensive? The risk for damage in terms of fire is much higher. And that's the reason why you will see there is a difference in terms of the premium. My livestock irrigation systems, my game, fire-related peril cover, R1 million insured amount, 5,000 per annum, 417 Rand per month before risk underwriting. And for me, and I will reiterate it in the presentation once again, public liability is one of the most important sections of a farmer's policy. My general limit of R1 million will cost me 1,385 Rand per annum, 115 Rand per month. And myself is the biggest supporter of umbrella liability. It is a safety net where I will enjoy cover 20 million and only paying an annual premium of 900 Rand per month, 900 per annum, 75 Rand per month. So this is a confirmation. No longer rely on the perception that insurance is expensive, as it is indeed not the case. I want to share with you some information in terms of your policy with reference to a few sections. The general section you will find on your personal lines, your commercial, your agri policy, marine, even aviation. This is the section that will provide you with the provisions, the conditions, and even the exclusions. Now, part of the general section, there is an extension of utmost importance, claims preparation cost. The reasonable cost incurred to certify or prove your claim within the agri space will be 25,000 Rand. On the motor and public liability section, it's 1,000. On livestock and game, it's 10,000 with the option to increase. There was a fire on my farm. I need to certify and prove my claim to my insurance partner by means of a fire report. The cost of such a report will be accommodated under my claims preparation cost extension as part of the general section. The same, infertility of an animal, a stud animal, I need to prove to the company that this animal are or is indeed infertile. The vet report confirming that the morphology percentage is less than 70% will be paid under the claims preparation cost, with this extension being in addition to. So please take note of claims preparation cost, as it is so important. But Andrea, to come back to our presentation in terms of fires and the liability, the next section will be the fire section, and it's the oldest section within the short-term industry, with the history relating back as far as 1666, with the Great Fire of Britain, where the baker, Thomas, started a fire within his bakery and nearly demolished half of the Queen's kingdom, destroying 13,200 houses, 87 churches, 13 people being killed. And very interesting to note, the Navy used gunpowder to create fire breaks, because back then that was also the origin of my fire brigades thereafter. The fire section will confirm that we will indemnify you for damage or loss to the whole or part of the property by means of insured perils. And these insured perils will be noted within the section confirming damage or loss following a fire, including smoke damage, my lightning and thunderbolt, explosion, earthquake, and even a tsunami if it's due to an earthquake, my storm, wind, hail, snow, referred to as weather, water, impact by an animal or a vehicle, malicious damage, and we know that our farmers are also making use of Eskom power. And we currently in load shedding, confirming that power surge indeed will always be an insured peril that will relate to damage. And part of the fire section, the power surge limit is 50,000, and I always have an outcry to say, increase this limit absolutely to what you can afford, because load shedding is absolutely a reality. Seeing that we will refer during this presentation to fire costs, fire extinguishing charges, it is also important to note that the fire section, building combined section, the office contents, motor section, watercraft section, All the sections relating to material damage will refer to and have an extension fire extinguishing charges, confirming that we will pay in addition to the indemnity, the fire extinguishing charges when you want to protect and safeguard your property by means of extinguishing the fire on its way to your property. The wording confirms we will pay any costs relating to the extinguishing or fighting of the fire, in addition to, no limit. So please, you will see there will be a difference, as I will also refer once again to the fire extinguishing cost under the public liability section. Under these sections, material damage sections, where the extensions will be any cost except for the motor section, where it's limited to 15,000. I always ask myself the question, is fires a reality within our beautiful country? Confirming, after some research, indeed the case to be. Vasco da Gama, our Portuguese explorer, and I saw it in my mind's eye, was passing the shorelines of South Africa, and I can see him zooming in with a single lens binocular as he saw so much smoke coming from the land. He baptized our beautiful country, Terra de Fume, the land of smoke, due to all the various veld fires. Simon van der Stel, our first Cape Governor, issued a decree in 1687 to say, if you were responsible for a fire and you are a first offender, you will be dearly whipped. And if you will be a second or were or was a second offender, you could face the death penalty. It was quite interesting for me to note that the first national disaster in terms of veld fires was declared in February 1869 after a veld fire destroyed 480 kilometers of land between Humansdorp and Swellendam, killing 31 people, destroying hundreds of farmhouses and thousands of livestock. The Knysna fire, August 2017. Interesting to note that the origin of this fire occurred when lightning struck an old tree on the Plaas Elandskraal. The farmer and his workers smelled smoke, and they notified the fire brigade, and the fire brigade visited the farm on 3 occasions, confirming, indeed, we also smell smoke, but we can't see the smoke. And all that lightning strike and fire need to accompany it with, to ignite the fire, was a strong wind. And we know the history. 16,000 hectares of forestry and fynbos were demolished. 7 fatalities. Thousands of houses, 150 informal houses were destroyed. And you most probably will ask, but hey, bugger, lightning is an act of God. Vismeye, how can I be held liable? You will not be held liable for the proximate cause. You will be held liable for the spreading of the fire. The year after the George Fire 2018, 16,600 hectares of land destroyed, 7 fatalities, including the pilot of working on fire. The year after in the Western Cape, Great Fire. The year after 2020, we know the challenge with the Herzogswil fires, and last year, I recall, Northwest, Free State, Northern Cape, Hopetown, Ventersdorp, all these fires. And this confirms that fires are a reality. Here's some information sharing vital statistics from the 1st of January up to the 31st of October 2021 for the provinces Free State, the Northwest and Eastern Cape. There were 86,000 fire incidents reported, destroying, demolishing 2.3 million hectares of land, infrastructure and assets. So fires, an absolute reality. The National Forest Veld and Forest Act number 101 of 1998, or in short, we refer to the Brandwet, the Fire Act, have 5 requirements that my farmer needs to take note of and attend to. The first one is the Chapter 4, confirming that on every owner on whose land a veld fire may start or burn, must prepare and maintain fire breaks on his or her side of the boundary between him or his or her land and any adjoining land. Section 17 confirms that you as a farmer must have all the equipment, the necessary training to your staff, protective clothing in place to extend fires. Furthermore, Section 17 confirms if you're not on the farm, you need to ensure that someone is present who will be able to act or assist with fire extinguishing. Section 18 confirms you must take all reasonable steps to notify your neighbor when a fire starts or you took note of a fire. You need to inform the fire protection officer or executive member of the FPA. And Section 18 clearly confirms that you need to do everything in your power to stop the spread of fire. This is the 5 main requirements, in summary, that my farmers need to attend to. But it is vital that you take note of Section 34 in terms of the presumption of negligence. The section confirms that the suspicion of negligence will apply if you are not a member of a fire protection association, and in this case, the defendant must prove the contrary, referred to as reverse onus. However, if you are a member of a fire protection association, the plaintiff must now prove your negligence. And interesting to note that in terms of this act, membership is not compulsory. Not compulsory. But there is a sincerity within me as human being, within me as passionate being for insurance, to call upon our farmers, please, if you can become a member of a fire protection association, do so. Do so because there's certain benefits in terms of a rebate under the public liability section if you inform us that you are part of a fire protection association, and you will really enjoy a benefit in terms of the excess when a claim arises. Public liability section of the policy is one of the utmost and most important sections to a farmer, a policyholder, or an insured. The wording in terms of my liability, I like to describe by illustrating it by means of your hand. As the wording confirm with your thumb indicating that you will be held legal liable in terms of the common law delictereg, in terms of your policy wording, your schedule being a contract between you and us. For what will I be held legal liable? The index finger confirming injury, accidental death, bodily injury, or illness to any person. But take note, not members of the same household or employees, as there will be other sections. Catering and making provision for indemnity. The middle finger confirming I will be held legal liable for tangible damage to tangible property. The fire started on my farm. It spread to my neighbor. There's no bloody more veld. There's no fences. His buildings, his combine, his livestock, his irrigation system, and his own house with the Fortuner and the Mercedes-Benz, BMW, everything is no more. So I will be held legal liable for damage to tangible property. And this will also be the section where we will attend to the legal costs and expenses of our claimant, because all of a sudden you did not realize that there was a second name of your neighbor that you did not took note of, because we are going more the way like the Americans. Your second doopnaam, your baptized name, will be Sue. He will be suing you, that there will be nothing left. So the claimant's legal costs and expenses will be attended under this section, with your cost and expenses, the pinky confirming under your policy. With our written consent, we will attend to your costs and expenses as part of indemnity of the public liability section. Now, after the introduction of the Fire Act of 1998, I'm honest to say that most of the insurance company, not most, all of us said, wow, here are going to be a major challenge, as we know that fires is a reality, and veld fires, the winter season, the drought, whatever the case may be, and all of us attended to an exclusion as part of the public liability section. And indeed, yeah, at Santam, we also attended with a specific exclusion 15 confirming, sorry, liability in terms of the spreading of fire is no more. But as an insurance company with an ethos or philosophy confirming do more than insurance good and proper, we said, but we need to cancel this exclusion with an extension spread of fire. And we automatically included the extension spread of fire to the amount of 250,000 or the limit of indemnity as stated. So there's an option to increase. We exclude damage to sugarcane or timber plantations with an option to include by means of a questionnaire, and you need to comply with the Fire Act. There will be a benefit in terms of membership of a fire protection association. And this is where I've got the outcry and making a calling on our insureds that you please need to attend to the extension spread of fire limit of 250,000 to increase it to a minimum of $1 million. And if you added the umbrella liability, that 20 million insured amount that we add in your policy, you're only paying 75 Rand per month. That safety net confirms that the umbrella liability will come into play as soon as 1 million was paid under any other section pertaining liability. If you do not attempt to amend that 250,000 limit and you've got umbrella liability, you will fall victim of an excess of 750,000 before the safety net will come into play. And this is where I always say tongue in the cheek to our brokers, our esteemed business partners. This is if you neglected to advise your client to do so. This is where you may expect him to visit you at your offices and leave on your desk a bouquet. It's looking like a bouquet, but most definitely not smelling like one. Fire extinguishing charges. To limit the spread of the fire beyond the borders of the insured's property is optional cover. And when I started the presentation, I hope that you will recall the fire extinguishing charges being part of the extensions on a material damage section of the policy referred to any cost. Here is an option for fire extinguishing charges to limit the spread of the fire beyond your borders. 100,000, 250,000, 500,000, up to 1 million. For 100,000, you will pay an annual premium of 750. For 1 million, 5,000 per annum. Spotters plane charges will be included up to 25,000, and I can assure you, attend to this optional cover, fire extinguishing charges, as if the fire ignited on your farm or spread through your farm, you may expect liability claims and even the fire extinguishing charges. I'm going to end off confirming why it is so important that we will really attend to insurance. Here we have an insured. He was insured or is insured with us. It's in a certain province. There is a national road. There's the boundaries. And this is a citrus farmer. He's farming on 130 hectares of land, 107 hectares citrus. What happened next? And let's zoom in. There's the main house. There's ample of water. There you can see. We see this as a natural fire break as well as the riverbed on that side. And there's once again the borders. There's the main house, the staff quarters, and then some of the children decided, yes, age 9 and 11. Let's experiment at this wonderful age to try and smoke. And a fire started. A fire started on the farm due to these children playing with the matches. There's the main house. The fire started at point X at 5 the afternoon. At 9, the fire was under control, and at 10, the fire extinguished. Everyone went home just to be called back at 4 the morning after a wind with the fire igniting at point Y again. And once again, everyone attended to extinguishing the fire and had it under control, went back home and thought, done and dusted. But look, there's more. At 1 o'clock, the fire ignited at point Z, spread to the neighbor's farm, and sad to confirm that our insured received a liability claim after 4,408 trees were destroyed and the summons received for 27 million. If you've got insurance in place, this is why I confirm that we will attend to the sustainability, and it is really feasible and not expensive at all. I'm going to end off. Hero Persist is free cover that we add on our agri policies, where my policyholder have access to 4 main benefits. Personal health advice is available 24 hours a day, but for me, the most important, emergency medical services, where I have access now to paramedics and ambulance, fixed aircraft, helicopter. Seeing that we're in the agri space, there's also legal advice available, because on and within the agri space, sometimes there's a land, water, and even a labor dispute. Crisis line, if there's a farm attack, if there's a hijacking, a burglary, or a fire, all that I need to do is to make use of the Santam SOS 0860 505. I'm a picture kind of guy, SOS 911. And this benefit is to the insured employee, any guest or visitor on the farm. I really want to thank you. And it's my sincere prayer that you will be overtaken by so much goodness and favor. So much that you want to vomit thereof. And ladies, you're not pregnant. That's a sincere prayer to say, this is my prayer. Rewrite the definition of success. And yes, we want to become your insurance business partner. Put us to the test. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you very much, Emile. This was a very insightful presentation, and I believe everybody on the webinar today can agree. Next, we have African Data Technologies, but before I introduce the speakers, I just want to ask if any questions for Emile, will you please put it on the chat box. After the next presenter presents, we will have a question and answer session for about 20 minutes, and then address all the questions. So next we have African Data Technologies, Jean-Pierre du Plessis. He will be presenting this morning. He's an attorney with experience in credit, banking, and SMME development. He co-founded the African Data Technologies in 2019 and is passionate about using innovative finance and to create scalable regenerative business models. His colleague, Vian Bakker, will also join the discussions today. And Vian is a civil engineer with life cycle analysis knowledge on various products, processes, and industries, with a specific focus on embodied carbon product design and data frameworks. He develops carbon sequestration and offsetting models for AD Tech, and he also advises clients on the use of technology, data opportunities, and optimization. Thinking outside the box is using a system-based approach to develop strategies and solutions within a nexus of technology, data, and nature. African Data Technologies is currently implementing a program for the digital monitoring and implementation of fire breaks in the Bottleray Hills Renosterveld conservation area to help prevent uncontrolled wildfires. Jean-Pierre will tell us more about this. Thank you, Jean-Pierre. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Andrea, and thank you, Emile, for that very insightful presentation. I think if there was ever an infomercial for the importance of insurance, that was definitely it. And I will definitely be looking at my own policy after that. As Andrea said, we are African Data Technologies. We started in 2020. We're based in Stellenbosch in South Africa, obviously. And our goal is to enable effective and measurable social and environmental impact by leveraging data and disruptive technologies. Unfortunately, as we all know, we're currently not acting fast enough to stall catastrophic climate change. This, of course, has significant detriments to sub-Saharan Africa, as we are one of the regions most vulnerable to climate change, and we're already experiencing rising temperatures and prolonged droughts. The International Monetary Fund report notes that we need to spend between $30 and $50 billion a year for climate change adaptation in sub-Saharan Africa. And although this is expensive, these costs are paid in comparison to the savings from reduced post-disaster spending that would be many times the cost of upfront investment in resilience and coping mechanisms. So this increased knowledge of climate change and the need for sustainable development has placed an unprecedented focus on so-called impact funding. What is impact funding? So impact funding is impact investments that are made with the intention to generate a positive, measurable social and environmental impact alongside a financial return. All of these investments require something that's known as monitoring, reporting, and verification to establish proof of the positive impacts that these investments create. So in order to measure impact, you need to implement what's known as MRV, or monitoring, reporting, and verification. This, in essence, means that you need to monitor a program or intervention through the collection of routine data. Reporting means that there's a framework involved for communicating the difference a program achieves in a prescribed manner so that people can understand it and use it in reporting. And lastly, one of the most important points is the verification of this monitoring, reporting, and of the data. So this refers to the process of establishing the truthfulness and accuracy of the reporting of the data of an intervention for sustainable development. This, unfortunately, is something that we've encountered often in implementing our projects. It's the cost of establishing trust that causes friction and the widespread implementation of sustainable development initiatives. The World Bank estimates that 5 to 7% of capital invested into development gets spent on MRV, and this increases to 30 to 80% for new instruments, such as impact bonds and carbon emission reduction credits. In essence, this is money that's wasted because money is intended to cause a social and environmental impact, and then it ends up being spent on intermediaries that need to measure the impact of the project itself. Digitalization, which means the shift from paper to digital format and switching from a manual to an automated process, offers numerous benefits to streamline this MRV process. With the advent of new technologies and systems, it's possible to significantly reduce these MRV-related transaction time and costs. And this is being implemented in the insurance industry. I've referred to this example being implemented in Africa called by Agri Africa, a social enterprise, which is a picture-based insurance product for crop insurance. How it works, it's aimed at small-scale farmers. So the farmer downloads an app onto their phone. Within the app, they take photos of their crops, and they do this over a certain period of time so that it can be monitored whether the proper implementation of farming practices are adhered to. And then when there is a claim for crop insurance, this data can actually be verified afterwards to see, did the farmer implement the correct farming practices? And if there was no negligence, then the insurance payout is streamlined and it reduces the cost of paying out for the insurer. And then also the farmer gets quicker access to a payout if necessary. Another interesting example of technology being used for disaster reporting is the UN Assign app. This is an app that was developed by the United Nations Development Agency. And what in essence it does, if you look at the left side of the screen, is it allows you to take photos of a disaster event and then also add text and report this to the necessary emergency agency that's involved with it. As you can see at the bottom of the geotext, there is a timestamp, so it timestamps the photo. There's obviously a date attached to it. And then very interestingly enough, it links to a, yes.
Apologies, are you sharing your screen with presentation?
Oh, did it not share? Okay.
No. Apologies,
No.
because you're referring to a bottom side and we didn't see.
Okay, I'm so sorry about that. Let me just...
we still have time, so
okay, can you see?
quickly run through.
Okay.
No, it's your desktop.
Okay, just give me 1 second. Okay.
Disaster reporting, yes.
Okay, luckily I
Sorry.
chatted through all the text, so we're now getting to the interesting pictures. So this is just the Agri Africa picture-based insurance one I referred to with the app that you can use. And then here we've got the UN Assign app, which is, as I referred to, it allows you to report a disaster. So in essence, what it does is you take a photo, as I referred to the left side screen, where you can take a photo of a disaster event. It allows you to add text to it. As you can see at the bottom left, there is a timestamp involved to it, so you can report exactly at what time it happened. And then on the right-hand side, you will also then see there's a date involved, and then it links to a very innovative program called What 3 Words, which in essence every 3 by 3 meters divides 3 of the grids and assigns you to this location. And then it's an easy way to find the address. So unfortunately, this is a real-life example out of my home, which I experienced this week, where I had a pipe burst. And when you click on the photo app, it allows you to take a photo, and then it geolocates to where I am, as you can see at the top. It allows you then to actually add text to it, so it lets you know where what is the emergency that you have. And then you can refer to What 3 Words, which is the other program I referred to, and this will actually show you exactly where the location is. This app is being used in a very innovative way across the world. For instance, in Mongolia, which has very nomadic people that live in yurts, they don't have fixed addresses. So the Postal Service actually uses this technology to assign an address to somebody. So if you want to send a parcel to somebody in Mongolia, you would actually use What 3 Words as a program to send it to them. What we found, in essence, is actually not creating new tools, but using existing tools as digital innovation and as best practice. And there I can refer to what the Winelands Fire Protection Association has recently done, is to say if there is a fire, firstly call the control room, and then you let your local Fire Protection Association WhatsApp group know. So you message them, you send a photo of the incident so they can see what's going on, and then you also share the location so that the Fire Protection Association can respond to the incident itself. The very interesting thing with WhatsApp is you can actually export the chat and then have it in a text file. And what this enables is that you can create a log of what was said on WhatsApp, and it can be used to create a coherent data set of an incident and to see what happened. And then also it links to everything that happened on the site. And as you can see, this is a chat that I exported from the Jonkershoek Fire Protection Association WhatsApp group. What we found in the field with implementing impact projects is, unfortunately, there aren't a lot of tools that exist for digital monitoring, specifically when it comes to nature-based solutions, which are the main projects that we implement. So in order to address this issue, we follow an easy-to-follow acronym known as BUILD, which is from the Lean Data Framework developed in a Stanford Social Innovation article of 2016. So what this says is that you need to build solutions from the bottom up, which this means is solutions are built with projects on the ground in order to understand their realities that they're facing. The solution needs to be useful. What that means, it yields data that is of sufficient quality to support decision-making and establish trust in the reported actions and outcomes of projects. It needs to be iterative, and it allows for learning, adaptation, and replication so that it is scalable in essence. It's a light touch. It uses low-cost tools and technologies that require minimal investment of time and money. And this, referring to the previous example of the Fire Protection Association, that is a great innovation to report on fires and have a coherent set of somebody responding to it in a quick time. And then lastly, and I think this touches to Emil's point as well, with all those stats that he shared with the reality of South African farmers, that it needs to be dynamic. Firstly, it enables rapid data collection within a fast-changing environment. But what we don't refer to here is the dynamic circumstances that agriculture face. When it comes to crime, arson, all these issues that we're picking up, how do we dynamically respond to them and build tools that are catered to be able to adapt to very strange and difficult circumstances? And it's for this reason that we started developing the Ecala Impact Platform. The platform is a purpose-built platform to enable nature-based solutions. So as I referred to nature-based solutions earlier, these are actions that protect, sustainably manage, and restore natural or modified ecosystems that address societal challenges effectively and adaptively, while simultaneously providing human well-being and biodiversity benefits. I would also then refer to a fire break that falls as a measure to manage your nature in order to protect livelihoods, and then also obviously alien clearing, which I'll refer to a bit later. So what is Ecala? Ecala is a web-based platform that allows the management of digital monitoring and verification of nature-based solutions as a service, and that then also establishes trust in impacts achieved through these actions. So we prescribe an easy-to-follow digital process, as this is something we've also picked up in the field, is it's very complex to implement a nature-based solution. So we try and really decrease that complexity as much as possible by providing guidance through the application process, helping you use freely available data and tools to set a baseline. So what is the current state of the piece of land that you want to implement the solution on, assist with planning, and then also implement the project itself, and then through the use of innovative digital technologies and remote sensing, referring to satellites and other sensors, to then monitor, report, and verify the impact that you're having. What are the benefits of a digital process? And I think this also refers back to Emil's statements regarding certainty and legal certainty. When you've got a completely digital process, it firstly becomes auditable. As all of the data relating to decision or action has been digitally captured, a ledger exists of all the steps and the processes that were followed, so it decreases the uncertainty, specifically when it comes to complex litigation. If you've got a digital framework, you can start automating certain provisions of the agreement. So what this means is the terms and conditions can execute on certain verifications, and an example of this would be parametric insurance, where you've got an independent parameter. For instance, I always refer to flight delay risk insurance because it's one of the easiest ones. If it can be independently verified that your flight was delayed by 2 hours, the insurance policy pays out automatically. And this is also being used in disaster risk, where there's a simple payout quickly, but it's not suited for very complex damage reports that you need to do. And then lastly, also it improves the availability of cheaper, readily accessible and trustworthy data so that we can create solutions over a certain period of time that become more effective, and that we can base our solutions for climate change mitigation on past data and then build models going forward and inform our decisions. And now to get to the real reason why we are actually here, is to talk about our firebreak proof program that we've developed, and that also, to Emil's point, that Santam has decided to support, and which really just shows that they are willing to move into innovation and really help solve issues on the ground that we are encountering. So the project actually started out of a completely different project. Referring to the Knysna fires, I think alien invasive species played a huge role there. And if you drive past Knysna now again, you'll notice that they have propagated again. So I think there's another risk waiting to happen that needs to be attended to. But we implemented a project on the Reineke organic wines with the Botterey Hills Conservancy, where we in essence collected data around the effectiveness of alien clearing happening on the farm. This is before we had the Ecala Impact Platform developed. So in essence, it was all Excel-based and paper-based, but it showed where we were going with these processes towards the Ecala Impact Platform. During the project, we attended the annual general meeting of the Botterey Hills Conservancy, when the Wildlands Fire Protection Association actually gave a presentation. And a number of things came out of this. So firstly, they said that they struggled to ensure compliance with the legislative mandates, which Emil referred to earlier, by some of their members. And then secondly, and this is where our project comes in, there was funding given to the Botterey Hills Conservancy for the implementation of so-called strategic fire breaks, which spread across the conservancy by the government, Western Cape government agency Landcare, which was done by contractors appointed by Landcare. And it came out that there was limited data on the effectiveness of the implementation of these fire breaks by the contractors, and there was no system to ensure the continued maintenance of the fire breaks, which in essence increased the risk of veld fires and the possibility of complex litigation if these fires were to cause damage. And this led to the Fire Protection Association warning members that they would be coming to do spot checks to see whether these fire breaks are being maintained. And if they were not, they would not be able to access further funding. And this is where our innovation came in, because we realized that with new technology, it's not necessary to go do a spot check. With satellite technology, we would be able to see is the fire break still there through a so-called normalized vegetation density index? And secondly, could we think about a system which would really help with this complexity and the uncertainty through the limited data that's available when it comes to implementing fire breaks? So we developed a program which has two verifications. Firstly, it's a system verification where we use remote sensing through satellites and other fire risks and with estimations of the fire breaks themselves to see, was the fire break implemented, what is the baseline, and what are we working towards to implement the fire break? And secondly, it also has a system of human verification, where the teams on the ground fill in forms, take photos, as I referred to with the UN assign example, where it gives you a coherent data set to work with to see, was the work done properly, and can you, is there a need for follow-up work, and when does this follow-up work need to happen? This is what the program looks like on the ICALA platform, where on the left-hand side, you've got the fire break application, where you set a baseline, you plan, you implement it, and then also work towards the monitoring, reporting, and verification. And on the right-hand side, you have an audit log, which says who has worked on it, and then also what is needed and what data is available and can be extracted by the system. The benefits that this program have are, firstly, it's a data collection tool to see how effectively were fire breaks implemented. It provides proof of groundwork, so of the maintenance and the work that was done on the ground. We are working to have, it provides monitoring and verification. It provides decentralized storage of all the data. So if a laptop gets lost or some other breach of data happens, that there is some data available in the cloud that you can refer back to, specifically when it comes to litigation and to determine whether there was negligence. And then lastly, what we really are working towards is that the system lets you know when you need to implement further maintenance. And also looking at the satellite imagery, it lets you know if the vegetation has reached a certain density that needs to be attended to then again as well. As I said, it uses remote sensing, normalized vegetation density difference index, where you can see, in essence, it shows you how much vegetation is on a plot of land. Through the red part is where it's barren, and then the green part is where there is vegetation. This is an example of what it would look like on the system, where you've got the fire break, and then it uses the satellite photo to see whether it is there. And then lastly, using an app, which we are developing, where you would be able to fill in all the data of the work that you've done, and then it measures at the start of the day, what work have you done at the start of a block, and then at the end of the day, what the work was, and you take photos that are time-stamped and geolocated. This is submitted to a project databases, which the landowner can view, and then also give access to the Fire Protection Association to verify and also assist them with the compliance. The co-benefits of this program are, firstly, legal compliance, like Emil referred to. It's proof of the work done on the ground. I think most importantly, what we've seen is we need to enable systems where we create collaboration between landowners to share maintenance responsibilities and also work towards fire prevention. So we're hoping that it will achieve that as well. It supports indigenous plant species and fire cycles. The first part of the program refers to preventing fires, where in future we would like to put in a system where landowners are actually rewarded for implementing natural fire cycles again. And we're presenting at a conference in September with academics to look into this. So hopefully that will have a positive outcome as well. Obviously, it avoids carbon emissions, which is very important for climate change. It maintains important ecosystem functions. It provides transparency on compliance and non-compliance. And then hopefully could be a reduction in fire risk insurance in the future if we can create an innovative product out of it. This is just a schematic presentation of the program in itself and who's involved. And then in future, we are also looking at using distributed ledger technology to have an immutable source of proof of the project that was implemented. And these are the current pilot partners. So Santam offering very innovative support and guidance on the insurance aspect of it. The Winelands Fire Protection Association, which is doing amazing work within our area in Stellenbosch. We've got the Botterey Hills Renosterveld Conservancy, which is a very important partner and are really working through a member network of about 50 farms to implement conservation practices within the winelands. And then very interestingly enough, we've also made contact with Cat Phones, and they've sponsored their S62 latest edition phone, which has got an infrared camera. And I think to Emil's last example, this is a very exciting development as well, because this phone can be used for mop-up exercises after fire to see whether there are any embers by looking at where are heat profiles in the ground. Thank you so much, and I apologize for the start of the presentation not being there and me skipping that step. If you want to have any more information, you're welcome to contact us. And as we said, this is being built from the ground up, so any type of insights from the fire protection associations involved, or anybody that thinks we're on the wrong path or has additional ideas as to how this project can be more successful or more innovative, we would love to hear from you. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jean-Pierre. It was a very insightful information about new technology and how technology can assist many of our landowners and fire protection associations with making or taking the necessary steps to mitigate any fire risks. We've got a few questions here in the chat box, and I'm going to start off by asking if there's any more questions, please add to the chat box and we will have an informal discussion. We will have now about 20 minutes to discuss any questions. So the first question is to Emil. Emil, are you still online? Oh, thanks, there you are. Would an insured still be fined liable if he's a member of a fire protection association, got good fire breaks and did everything in his power to prevent the spread of a fire, especially if the fire was started by an act of God?
Thank you so much for the Heidelberg team for the question. And yes, that is a fantastic question confirming, but me as a farmer, I'm a member of an FPA. I really indeed intend and attended to do my part of risk mitigation. I attended to making the fire breaks. Will I be held liable if the fire starts on my farm or even if the fire spread through my farm? Now, there is also a word that we need to take note of when it comes to public liability cover, as the legal team refer to the word every claim they will attend to in terms of the merit. So they will have a look at all the facts at hand. Yes, I'm a member of the FBI. I really attended to and. But during my presentation, I also confirmed that the thumb, I will be held legal liable. So someone, my neighbor or someone else wants to say, but you were now the reason for the damage and even the death or injuries incurred due to your action. Now, in terms of public liability, the thumb confirmed that I will be held legal liable. I confirmed in terms of the delicts, the delictenrecht of common law, and there's 5 important pillars that normally needs to be present for a claimant to be successful. The thumb, and this 5 pillars is also illustrated and can be illustrated by means of my hand. The thumb confirm, was my action positive or negative? With the index finger, was this action foreseeable or preventable? And then the middle finger confirms, let us perform the reasonable person or the human test. What would the reasonable person do in exactly the same action? And then the ring finger confirm to the damage, and the pinky confirming there's a causality between the action and the damage. Daai causale verband. So this is the 5 pillars that the legal team normally will use. So if I did indeed make my fire breaks and I really maintained the fire breaks as prescribed, then I know I will not be legal liable. So I hope that answer the Heidelberg team in terms of how we will attend to the claims, because the legal team will really take everything into consideration by means of the fire report and the fire breaks, the maintenance on fire breaks. So if I was not negligent, then I will not be held legally liable. So I hope that answered the question.
Thank you very much, Emil, for that. I'm going to bounce back now to Jean-Pierre. We've got here a question in the chat box. What is the possibility for the Northwest Fire Umbrella Fire Protection Association to enter into a partnership agreement with your organization or your business?
Thank you, Andrea, and thank you for the question. Please reach out. I would love to chat to you. Obviously, when you mentioned in the beginning the winter season and the different, it's quite a different area, but as we said, we're building technology that's supposed to be scalable. So you should be able to implement the tools in the same context. So please send me a mail. I would love to hear from you, and it would be great to see. I haven't been to Porch in years, so I would love to find out what we can do there. And we just have to understand the context a bit better. But yes, absolutely, that would be great. Send an email and let's chat. I would love that.
Thank you so much. We also got a lot of questions again back to Emil. Emil, second question to you. Can you please comment on the requirement for fire breaks around your entire farm in light of strategic fire breaks agreed to by your FPA? So what is Santam's stance if there is not a fire break on a boundary as agreed by your Fire Protection Association and the fire spreads beyond it?
Thank you, Andrea, and thank you for the question. And yes, we as an insurance company is really not there to apply the law, but to manage the risk or limit certain risk. Now, if a FPA, and that's why we're the keen support of membership towards an FPA, as their business plan confirms that due to the region, the ecology, fynbos, vegetation, soil erosion, we will not be able to make fire breaks around the premises. So that is part of their business plan, and they know their region the best. So if it's part and parcel of their business plan to say that in terms of soil erosion and the following reasons why we will not attend to making fire breaks as prescribed, we will also honor that. So that I can confirm is also the stance. My only worry is that, and I think, and I know Eric is also part of the session from the Northwest Fire Protection Association. I didn't meet you in person yet, Eric, but I did see you on the news after the Northwest fires, and that's why we are, as an insurance company, the most keen supporter of a membership towards an FPA.
Thank you very much, Emil, for that. I just want to remind all the attendees that we will send the presentations as well as a recording of today's webinar to everyone. It will also be uploaded on our YouTube channel, on Facebook, as well as on our social media pages. Jean-Pierre, another question for you is, what current projects are you busy with in the fire within your industry?
Thank you so much. So firstly, it is this project within the Botlerij Hills Renosterveld Conservancy, where we are looking at, I think exactly the question was also, we're iterating as we go. So it's about monitoring the fire breaks, but then also I think an important aspect of it is, how do you digitize the agreements around it? So how do you create a system where neighboring landowners can have agreements that are in a database in the cloud, where these agreements with the Fire Protection Association and the steps that were documented towards making a decision around fire prevention, how do we document that? So that's part of the project. And then the project that I mentioned with Johan Reineke, we've realized that there is, from a climate change point of view, there's a real advantage in creating what's known as biochar, which is biomass that's burned in an oxygen-starved environment through a process called pyrolysis. in a low-tech kiln. We're very much focused on that project at the moment. So how do you take an existing negative resource, which is invasive species, which are a massive issue? The usual process is just to cut them down, either burn them or sell them as firewood. How do we actually create an environmental benefit out of that process by creating biochar? So that's another project that we're involved with. And then also we do look at carbon footprinting. So we are busy with a project with Vinimark where we're looking at the carbon footprint, the embedded carbon footprint in wine bottles. So what is the real farm to glass? What is the carbon footprint of that? So I think those are our main focuses at the moment, is working with the agricultural sector to look into those processes. And then also lastly, as I said, there's a big focus now on carbon credits and accessing carbon funding and different forms of impact investment. What we've picked up on the ground is that it's very difficult to access them. There are projects that are offering these services to farmers at the moment, but the actual price that you get for your carbon-based or ecological asset is quite low. So we're trying to put the power back in the hands of farmers to say, how do we start your own projects and then access markets within Europe? We're specifically looking at German funders to then create ecological benefits and be rewarded for that. So those are the main projects that we're involved with at the moment.
Thank you very much, Jean-Pierre, for that. The rest of the questions I'm going to address to Emile. Emile, does umbrella liability also cover the extension damage to plantations?
Unfortunately, I may confirm, Andrea, not, as the risk in terms of sugarcane plantations, timber plantations is quite extensive. And that's one of the exclusions under the umbrella liability. And that also initially the reason why we exclude cover under the liability section towards my sugarcane and timber plantations with a questionnaire. If you need to take up cover, but at this stage, the umbrella liability, nope, but we also have niche companies that we will refer you to for umbrella kind of cover with other niche insurers.
Thank you, Emile. Yeah, very much insightful. Also, just want to tell the audience that there is a link on the chat box to download the presentations before we leave today. Emile, another question. Wouldn't it not be more cost effective for the insurance industry as a whole that could only provide agricultural fire cover if the client is a member and in good standing with the Fire Protection Association? I think this question was raised twice in the chat box.
I'm the first one to agree 100% with that comment, and I am convinced that we as insurance companies need to engage seriously with our Fire Protection Association, especially also our provincial fire protection associations like the Western Cape, the Northwest, Free State, etc., where we need to come and sit around a table and say, but here is a true need and here's most probably a solution, because I'm the keenest supporter of innovation. And for those members who really want to engage and really want to do their part in terms of risk mitigation, there will also be a major benefit and is a major benefit to us as an insurance company, and that's why those initiatives I'm the keenest supporter, and I think we really need to take action and start. Most probably, let's do it together in conjunction with Agri SA and get all of them together and the insurance companies to say, but here is a solution. We know veld fires is a reality. Let's work together and make sure we come up with solutions.
Yes. I agree much with you, Emile. That is definitely the way to go forward. We need to address this situation holistically, or look at it holistically. The last question that I'm going to give to you is, I have another question. There's a lot of thatch roof lodges, especially in the Limpopo area. Are there legislative requirements for where and how many fire extinguishers and the size of it should be in a house? I received this question earlier from one of the fire protection associations.
Right. Andrea, I'm also going to confirm, yes, I will never forget as a former trainer when we started off with thatch roof, we said, oh, yes, and Francis Bay, here we come. Our brokers is going to write ample of business. And we also know what happened in the Eastern Cape with that flippant fires on the thatch roof. So on thatch roof, once again, there's also a questionnaire. Myself, I also asked some questions to the underwriters to say, ja, maar gaan die behandeling van my grasdak help en gaan 'n brandblusser help, because it is provisos or requirements or it is risk mitigation that I need to attend to. But the sad thing when it's coming to thatch roofs, in the absence thereof, and even if I've got this equipment at hand, it takes 5 minutes if there's nothing in place, and up to half an hour if I had my fire extinguishing equipment at hand and yes, I know it remains also currently a major risk in terms of thatch roofs, but in terms of if we, let's say it's a commercial entity, we will most probably proceed with a survey, and the surveyors also will say, okay, yes, there is adequate fire extinguishing charges and. But to add to this question, a fire break. What happened in Knysna? If I've got fire breaks in place, how was it that this fire spread due to this lightning? That's an act of God. Was the fire break the only solution? If there was a fire break, Andrea, it's quite interesting. It jumped over the Knysna Meer. So I've got and it's a kilometer. It's more than a kilometer. And that's why I'm so excited, to engage with AdTech, JP, Vian and team and the FPAs to say, I think we now opened up a wonderful engagement session to follow hereafter to say, but how can we as partners come up with certain solutions?
Thank you, Emile. You said it so well. We are approaching now the end of the webinar, and before I hand over to our chairperson for the Natural Resources Centre of Excellence, Mr. Willem Symington, to close the meeting, I would just want to ask Emile, Jean-Pierre and Vian, if he's online, if they just want to give a closing remark or two for the audience today. We also just from my side just want to say thank you for your time and empowering us with information. At the end of the day, we can only be as strong as and take this risk on as with all the information we have at hand. Yeah, thank you, Emile.
My sincere and final remark is to everyone joining. Thank you so much. I am totally humble and I really want to challenge you. Be the best you that God created you to be today and every day hereafter. And the world is in so a serious need thereof. So I salute everyone and thank you once again for this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you so much, Emile. Vian?
Hi. Yeah, thanks, Andrea. I think from my side, it's just we really want to hear from landowners and people who've got problems. Anything that you think that we can help solve digitally, we want to help. And I think it's about using technology and helping the people who don't have access to all the technology and all. We've got so many open source tools and data sets that we can help landowners with. So I think we just need to understand, how do we help? And I think for that, we need collaboration. Like we can't come in and just try and solve all the problems. We really need to understand what people are struggling with, how we can help, how do we collaborate to kind of create new risk for landowners. To obviously our mission is climate change and helping to solve the problems in that. But I think landowners and anyone in the country in some way could benefit from it. So yeah, from our side, it's just please reach out. And yeah, I think collaboration is the way to solve a lot of these problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Vian. And thank you so much, Andrea, for the opportunity to chat today. Thank you, Emil, for all your guidance. And thank you, Santam. I think really what we can reiterate the way that Santam has interacted with and the fact that they're willing to take on innovative projects. And to Vian's point as well, the tools don't exist. We don't have the answers, so let's build them. And that's what we're doing with the Botterheiu Renosterveld Conservancy and to all the other fire protection associations. Thank you for all the great work that you do under very difficult circumstances, and then also to Agri SA, all the work that you're doing and for farmers and supporting them. It's great to tap into your network and to chat today. And everybody have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Willem?
Andrea, what a wonderful event. All the people that has been on camera has got a smile on their face. This is one of the benefits of the bad situation that COVID has created. Otherwise, we would have had 3 years ago, we would have had the same event, and it would have been a physical one. And I can assure you that we wouldn't have the number. Thing that is comes to mind is this must be an important issue if you've got more than 500 people attending something like this. I want to start off by saying thank you to all the attendees. Thank you for making, yes.
Your audio is a little bit scratching.
Okay, is it better now, Andrea?
No, it still makes a noise.
And how's it now? If I move it on this like this? Can you hear me better now?
I don't know, it's something strange on the audio, but I think try and continue.
Okay.
Yes, let's continue, please.
Yes. First of all, I want to thank all the attendees for making fires and the containment there of their business. I think we're moving into a time where we need to manage disasters in our country in a better way, so that we can more attend to mitigating and go less to crisis management. I want to come to the people that made the presentation. Santam, Emil, thank you very much. Not only for for the knowledge that you brought to us today, but also for the way in which you have done it. Then for your organization, the Santam, who you have a very good working relationship with, I want to use this platform to thank you for the aid that you have given to farmers across our country. Not necessarily all of them your clients, but you've made a huge contribution to help farmers survive a lot of crises during the past year. You've also made it possible for Agri SA and our foundation that we've got to become known as a trusted vehicle for the private sector to make donations to and to help us establish our relation or our position as an organization that can give immediate aid in a transparent way and in an effective way, not only to our members, but to the whole farming sector in times of crisis. The guys from African Data Technology, thank you for having a knowledgeable, competent people in the private sector who are contributing in helping to manage disasters in our country. I also want to thank the fire protection associations and all the members from Organized Agriculture that has attended our webinar. You are the people on the ground that have to deal with the immediate effects as well as the preparation to prevent fires and to deal with the effect of fires when the crisis occurs. Lastly, I want to thank Andrea and the team from Agri SA. Well done. This is what we are supposed to be doing. Not only do we have to serve and give our members the benefit of having platforms where they can discuss problems and where they can acquire knowledge, but we've also got a bigger mission to help ensure that the agricultural sector in South Africa thrives and continues to provide food and food security for our country as a whole in a manner in which we are busy doing it. Andrea, thank you. With that, I want to conclude.
Thank you very much, Willem. Have a nice day, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. May the blessings overtake you. Enjoy also this wonderful weekend coming up. Die Paasfees. Kom ons doen saam die regte goed. Maak mooi. Emil, bye.